Doctors could be on the brink of a breakthrough.
Migraines.
How to control them.
Tame a migraine.
A severe migraine.
Throbbing, recurring headaches.
Given all the noise, navigating the migraine experience can be confusing and scary, but you do not have to do it alone. Welcome to the Migraine Guy Podcast, the official podcast of themigraineguy.com and theheadachereview.com. Now, here's your host.
Hey there, thanks so much for joining the conversation today. If you're new to The Migraine Guy, here at The Migraine Guy, I strive to bring you informative and entertaining material, whether it be on YouTube, in this podcast, on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, anywhere that you find The Migraine Guy. That is my mission. Being alone is not an option when you have a chronic pain condition, and so I strive to put out regular content. So even if you're confined to your home because of your chronic illness, you can still know that you are not alone. Now, let's get to the show. What's up, podcast? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy, back from a 2-week break from the podcast. I do apologize for that. It was not announced. There are two main reasons why that break occurred. The first is I just wanted to make sure that this podcast was getting enough regular downloads to justify the amount of time and energy and resources that go into producing it. And thankfully, we're getting hundreds of downloads every week. And so there is a need for a podcast like this. And so I'm certainly going to continue it. The second reason, and probably the bigger reason, was that a couple weeks ago, my wife and I were lucky enough to go on vacation, and we went to Scotland. We went overseas. It was my wife's first time being out of the country, and we went to a little island off of Scotland's coast called Islay, which is home to some of the world's most delicious and world-famous scotches. I'm a big scotch guy. I like it a lot, and so this trip was a way to get out, see some really gorgeous scenery, be exposed to, different culture, and also get to check a couple things off my bucket list. I got to go to my favorite Scotch distillery, Lagavulin. If you're familiar with the TV show Parks and Rec, Lagavulin is Ron Swanson's favorite Scotch also. So it was just an amazing trip. It was as beautiful as you could imagine. It was as temperature-wise, in my opinion, amazing, as best as it could be. It was like constantly 60 degrees with a slight breeze, and so it was nice and cool. You could wear shorts and not be cold, but it was cool, and that was awesome, especially since back here in Nebraska it was, anywhere from 70 to 90 degrees with a ridiculously high amount of humidity. So glad to have avoided that. But as I was mentioning this to my private Facebook group, someone had asked, what do you do when you travel and get chronic migraines? And I thought that was a pretty interesting question because it kind of has two components, right? What do you do just in planning for a vacation? Do you even think you can plan for a vacation with chronic migraines? Because given that you get more than 15 a month, it's likely that you're going to get migraines on your vacation. Won't that ruin it? And two, what do you do when you do get a migraine? If you're at 30,000 feet over an ocean, you can't go to a cold, dark room and wait out the migraine. You can't escape. You're crowded. It's usually a little warmer on the airplane. And what if there's things like turbulence or noises or smells that are triggering your migraine? It could be this perfect storm for your migraine. And so I thought it was a good question. Thought it was an interesting question. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing I think is most important if you're planning on going vacation of any kind. It doesn't have to be on a plane. This could be a road trip. This could be something within the city you live in. Maybe you're just taking a couple days to go to a hotel or something. Just get out of your normal routine and kind of escape a bit. Whatever the kind of vacation you're taking, I think it's extremely important to know what your triggers are. So have a really, really comprehensive history that you can point to certain things and say, when this occurs, I get a migraine. When I eat this, I get a migraine. That way you can minimize that while you're traveling. But of course, avoiding triggers is pretty common sense. The reason that it's important when you travel is because lots of other things in your life while you're traveling are going to be very different. And so you might not have a plan to avoid your trigger because of the circumstances you find yourself in. Let's take water, for example. Hydration, adequate hydration, and regular hydration is a pretty well-known way to avoid getting at least some number of migraines every month. If you dehydrate yourself, you're much more likely to get a migraine if you're already prone to migraine, so staying hydrated is essential. But when you're traveling, that can be much more difficult. For example, if you bring a water bottle to the airport, the TSA or whatever your security agency is could take it away if it's over a certain size. Are you ready to spend more money on buying a water bottle or getting a beverage from someplace there? that's just something to take into account. Additionally, what happens when you're flying? If the plane has turbulence, for example, and the flight attendants can't hand out beverages, do you have water in, say, your backpack or your purse or whatever your carry-on is in order to have hydration? And that's just a small little consideration, right? Whatever your triggers are and whatever the things are that contribute to your migraine could be amplified given the fact that you're in a weird circumstance that is not what you're normally used to. And so you need to have a way to avoid your triggers and prevent your migraines from occurring insofar as you're able to do so. Additionally, food falls into the same kind of category. It's really easy to not think, oh yeah, I need to eat every, let's say, 2 or 3 hours, and maybe have, 300 to 400 calories or something like that, regulating your nutritional intake to help reduce diet as a contributing factor to your migraine. But when you're traveling, that can be very difficult. First of all, airplane food is, of course, not what it used to be. A 3-hour flight, you might just get peanuts. So you need to bring some snacks. Additionally, airplane or airport food, right, is typically not great. There's a lot of fast food restaurants. There are some decent restaurants there, but of course you're going to be spending, maybe $15 on an entree that would normally just cost you $8. And so you've got added expense there. So if you can bring some food with you in order to plan ahead, that could save not only money, but some problems associated with getting your migraines from not eating regularly. And you could just do the same kind of thinking about any of the triggers that you have for your migraines, and then try to plan ways to counteract them. Maybe you don't care about spending money at the airport on food. That's fine, but at least you will have planned ahead to know how to avoid getting a migraine by something that you could have controlled. Now, the second thing that I think is really important when traveling, besides just a thorough plan of how to avoid your triggers, is have a migraine bag, kind of a go bag, an emergency bag. I used my backpack. You could have, maybe a dedicated bag, or it could just be something where your carry-on is located. But the idea is, what are some things that you can use to help your migraine intensity go down if you are starting to get a migraine? Additionally, maybe even prevent the migraine. So what I'm thinking of falling in this category are things like earbuds, for example, or earplugs. If you know that certain noises or certain sounds are going to contribute to either causing a migraine or making it worse, you should have those in your migraine bag. Perhaps even you want to bring something like an ice therapy device, perhaps the migraine hat, the headache hat, the ice cap, the cryo helmet, something like that can actually be brought on a plane in the United States, at least, as long as the ice packs in it are 100% frozen. If they're slushy or only partially frozen, the TSA will not let you take them on the plane. But as long as they're solid, as long as they're absolutely frozen, you can take them on your plane. You can keep that in your go bag. Now, of course, that's going to fall again back into the planning area. You're going to have to plan ahead so that you have it frozen up until the point when the TSA examines it. You don't want to have maybe an hour where it's sitting in your bag and then you get to the TSA and then they say, well, it's slushy, and throw it out, and you were hoping it would stay frozen. No, you need to have a plan. Perhaps get some sort of freezer bag so that it can stay as cold as possible up until the point when the TSA examines it. Additionally, maybe you want something like some essential oils, something to rub on your temples or on your chest to help soothe you and calm you down. Maybe some sort of sleep mask to help block the light, or a pair of migraine relief glasses. Earbuds, you could play some music that's calming, something to help you relax, regulate your breathing. If you like meditation, for example, you could have a meditation track, audio track, and you could just be meditating while you're on the plane. Something like that, a neck pillow, any of the things that can help you stay calm, stay in control, stay in a peaceful state, and reduce your stress so that you don't accidentally trigger a migraine by being stressed or being exposed to sensory stimulus that you're not usually exposed to. One more thing that you might think about putting in your migraine bag, and you'd want to talk to your doctor about this, of course, but maybe a prescription sleep aid if your flight is going to be long enough. One thing, of course, that everybody is probably aware of when you travel internationally or travel any long distance is that you could get some jet lag and could really screw up your sleep. For me, inconsistent sleep or bad sleep is my number one trigger. It's almost guaranteed that if I don't sleep well the night before, that I'm going to at least get a level 5 or 6 migraine the next day. It's like 90% reliable. And so if I'm going to be traveling to a different country that has a different time zone, and the flight is going to be a certain amount of time, I might want to try and sleep for part of it. And one way to do that would be to talk to your doctor about getting a sleep aid so that you can regulate your sleep in order to avoid inconsistent sleep triggering your migraine. Now, final thing to note about traveling with migraines is that as a chronic pain sufferer, you are entitled. Let me repeat that. You, as a chronic pain sufferer, are entitled to take care of yourself. If your migraine interrupts your vacation or travel plans, that is nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be apologetic for. You're doing your best and you're trying. You're on vacation. You're trying to live your life as much as you can. And this might just be a case where the migraine robs you. Of course, if your migraines are chronic and very often in the 7 to 10 pain range, then maybe traveling right is just the kind of thing that's even out of the question for the foreseeable future, which might suck to hear, but being honest with yourself is one of the most important things you can do. And so you need to assess yourself and see if it's even realistic to think that a vacation could go well for you. But of course, planning a trip like this at the end of the day, deciding to go on a trip of any kind is somewhat like a more expensive version of the issues migraine sufferers face daily. If your niece or sister is having an event, you always have to ask yourself the question, should I commit to this event? Should I tell them that I'll be there? Why? Well, what happens if you have to cancel because of your migraine? Will they be disappointed or hurt? Will they make fun of you? Will they think you're faking it? These are all the kind of questions that surround a normal migraine sufferer's daily life, and these are the same kind of questions that crop up in a vacation. But as I said, it's kind of a more expensive version of the question because a lot more rides on you doing certain things. But of course, if you're going on a vacation, you're probably going with other people. And so these other people, hopefully they're close enough to you that you feel comfortable talking about your migraines, and you need to be honest with them as well. You need to be telling them, look, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to track. I'm going to be as planned out as I can. I'm going to have my medications refilled. I'm going to have my migraine bag. I'm going to have a host of tools to try and minimize the chances that a migraine is going to stop this vacation. But you need to have that conversation with them in order so that they are prepared and that they are willing to commit to that possibility. And so long as they are, then even if you need to cancel or stop or take a break, they should be supportive. They should be the kind of support structure that will keep you strong and keep you on the right path. That way, even if your migraine stops or cancels your vacation, it won't have won because you'll still have your support group. You'll still have the people in your life that matter. Vacations can come and go, but people are very, very important. And so you need to have that good support structure in place. But those are my tips on traveling with migraine. Nothing groundbreaking. Certainly, there are lists online. You can check in the discussion notes below if you're familiar with podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, in the notes for this show. I'm going to put a link to a couple lists that other people have put out that you can read over, print out, and think about. As you know, at the end of podcasts, I like to ask a question of the day. So what is in your migraine bag, or what are your top 5, let's say, migraine products that you use either on a daily or weekly basis to help mitigate and control your migraines? If you were going to go on a trip, what would you absolutely have to bring with you? Make sure to post your answers to that either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for The Migraine Guy and tag me in your response. Additionally, let's see what else is going on. We've got a bunch of podcasts coming up too. If you want to kind of know what's on the horizon, we have got an interview with someone from migraine.com, actually. We've got an interview with someone from a website, alvowellness.com, a nutritionist who is taking a dietary approach to her migraines and has found some success. We're going to be talking with her also, as well as I have an update for the CBD oil. I'll be doing a podcast devoted solely to that. And I think there are a couple other things that are still in the works, so I don't want to say them yet, but at least those podcasts should be up once a week over the next 4 weeks. So make sure to check those out. Additionally, as you know, this podcast is supported and brought to you by theheadachreview.com, which provides a number of resources for migraine sufferers. They have a free ebook. If you're new to migraines and are scared, you can get that there, and it'll explain not only basics about your medications and things your doctor's probably going to try, but some at-home things you can try and some of the research that supports it. Additionally, you can read reviews about a lot of migraine medications and products there that actual and real migraine sufferers have posted. These are honest reviews. Some of them are not flattering, but that's because they're honest, and you can check that out at theheadachreview.com. If you need anything else, feel free to hit me up on social media. As I said, it's just The Migraine Guy everywhere you want to find me. Until next time, podcast audience, take it easy. If you want to help keep everything that The Migraine Guy does free, then you can become a patron over at the website patreon.com. That's Patreon.com. Patreon lets people contribute funds to other people whose work they value. Becoming a patron does things for me, such as allowing me to buy new products so that I can do product review videos so that you know whether or not a given migraine product actually works before you buy it. It also helps me do things like upgrade the microphones and cameras for both the YouTube channel and this podcast. And more importantly, it helps me be accountable to you, my migraine community. You can pledge as low as $1 a month if you want to, and every single dollar does help. Just head over to patreon.com/themigraineguy to become a patron today.